Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon, everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at Fliptoons. This was released at Gen Con by Thunderworks Games, and this is a deck builder where you're trying to build the best cast of characters to star in your next animated show. So it's a lot of fun artwork on here, and it says deck builder. I would almost call this a deck management game, and I'll show you why here in a second. But this is definitely one, spoiler alert, you guys are going to keep an eye out for, because this is a great little game by Thunderworks here. So let's talk about how you play it, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the game. Here we are set up for a game of Fliptoons. Now this game can be played solo. I'll discuss that near the end of this little tutorial. But I'm just going to be focusing on a single hand for the purposes of teaching you this video. Everybody starts with the same set of cards. You're going to get a B. He's going to give you one fame. Now, fame is the currency in the game. You can see that these cards cost a certain amount of fame, 15, 10, 7, 4, and 3, respectively. And you're attempting to get to the 30 fame benchmark, and that's going to trigger the end game. Snail's going to get you 2. A dragonfly is going to get you +1, depending on how many unique cards are adjacent to it. Caterpillar is worth 0, but is easier to dismiss. The skunk is going to help you out if you have the lowest amount of fame, and then there's another caterpillar. So what you're going to do at the beginning of every turn is you're going to shuffle up your hand. Now, in general, your hand's going to stay pretty small. Like I said, this is not necessarily a deck builder, more of a deck management game, because ideally you want to be able to build the best 6 to 8 cards and not really go much more than that. Because when the end game is triggered, it's going to come down to one final flip of 6 cards, and how well can you score with those 6 cards. So you definitely want to optimize your deck in a way that you're only seeing those same 6 cards come up over and over and over again. So on your turn, everybody at the same time is going to flip over 6 cards, and it's important that you flip them over like so. So you will always flip over 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So I have my grid of 3 and 3. Now I'm going to determine how much fame I have. So my B gets me 1. He's very straightforward. The dragonfly is looking for adjacent unique cards. I actually have 3. He's in a good spot. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. If these 2 cards had been switched, he only would have scored 2. But since they're like this, he's going to get me 3. +1 here is 4. +2 from the snail is 6. I don't get anything from the bottom row. So right now I have 6 fame. You're going to take your handy dandy player aid here, and you're going to set it here to 6. If you ever need to go over here to the right side, you would just flip this over. And if you start hitting higher numbers, you just flip it to the back side. So I've got 6. At this point, I'm going to wait for everybody else to determine their fame. And then once we all know what the each person's fame count is for that round, the first player is going to get to start the market phase. Now, the biggest reason why we want to determine who has what amount of fame is because the skunk, a starting card, is going to allow you to dismiss a card for free, cull it from your deck for free if you have the lowest amount of fame. So it's a little bit of a catch-up mechanic. Beyond that, it really doesn't matter. But let's just say I'm the first player here. During the market phase, I can take 2 actions. I can take 1 action. I can take 2 of the same action. I can take 1 of each, or I could pass. Your 2 actions are purchase a card from the market. The amount of fame that you have to pay for a card is sitting above it. Now these cards are going to shift up and down, left and right throughout the game, so the elephant may not always be 15. Higher ranking cards may come in and push it down to the left. A card's rank is listed here in the kind of lower-ish left corner. The amount of fame they produce is what's in this circle here. It kind of looks like money. So I can purchase a card. I have 6 fame, so I could purchase the donkey or I could purchase the eagle. I also could dismiss a card any card that I can see. I have to be able to see the card. It can't be a card that didn't make it out in my grid, and it can't be a card that is flipped over face down. As long as I can see the card, I can dismiss it for 5 fame. Any card, 5 fame, except for our 2 caterpillars here, which are starting cards and are pretty much useless. They can be dismissed for 3. Now, there are cards in the game that allow you to dismiss otherwise. For example, if you buy this butterfly, it's going to allow you to dismiss a caterpillar for free. Makes sense. You bring in the butterfly, the caterpillar goes away. Or like the snake here, it actually dismisses the next card that comes out after it. It kind of eats it up, but then you're going to get a random card introduced to your deck after that. So there's a little bit of a push your luck element there. We've got a donkey. He's going to score really well if he's in the bottom row, but then he leaves. All right, otherwise he's just worth 1. And then we have the eagle and the elephant here. They're actually going to be flipping cards either after them or before them, but you can see they also themselves cannot be flipped. So ideally, if you could pair them where it goes eagle, elephant, that's going to give you 11 fame and nobody gets flipped. Remember, if a card gets flipped down, it's basically blank and doesn't count for anything. So let's just, as an example, take a turn here. Unfortunately, I don't have enough to buy that butterfly. That would have been perfect. I do have 6 though. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy an eagle. Anything I purchase is going to go into my deck over here. Because remember, if I have more than 6 cards, I might have cards that didn't come out. And I'm going to pay 3 to dismiss a caterpillar. All right, I've managed my deck so that I only have 6 cards. You can go higher than 6. You can go as many as you want. And you can go as low as 4. All right, you have to always have at least 4 cards in your deck, and you can have as many as you want, but optimization here is the key. At this point, you know, my turn would be done. I could shrink these guys down. Let's just say, for example, my skunk, I was not the lowest, so somebody else is going to get to use their skunk. All right, I would just put my cards like that. Before the next person goes, we get to refresh the market, so we're going to bring out a new card. It does not automatically fill in where the eagle was. Everything gets reshuffled based upon the rank of the card, and this card's actually the highest, so everything shifts down to the left, making that butterfly much more affordable now for the next person, and so on and so forth. You're going to continue going around like this until someone accumulates 30 fame on one flip. All right, at the end of each round, you're simply going to take your deck, you're going to shuffle them up. You don't have a discard pile, you don't have a draw pile. You always have your deck that's shuffled up every turn, and you deal out 6 cards like this. Here in this case, I have the eagle. He's flipping over the next card. That's a snail, so I lose those 2 points. And then we keep flipping. The dragonfly is there. There's my skunk. There's my caterpillar, and there's my bee. So I would count out my fame. We do the market phase, so on and so forth. Once someone is able to produce 30 fame on one flip, they're going to trigger the end game. If they're the person that does it, they're going to get this Critic's Choice card. This is going to give them +3 fame for the final flip. All right, so a little bonus. If multiple people reach 30 on that same turn, whoever has the most gains the Critic's Choice. And if 2 people are tied for the most, this just goes back in the box. Nobody gets the bonus. All right, but once somebody triggers the end game, you're going to finish that round in full. So everybody's going to get one more market phase, and then everybody's going to take their deck, they're going to shuffle up, and they're going to do one more flip of 6 cards. Now, there are ways to have more than 6 cards. Some cards stack. Some cards, like the monkey, push up and allow you to have 7 cards facing things like the elephant, flip cards over, but other cards then may sit on top of a flipped card. There's also cards like the bull, who scores more if there is a card flipped. Things like the cat here, he scores more based on starting cards that you've dismissed. So I've dismissed at this point 1 starting card. There's a whole range of animals in here and actions that they take when they're played out. But what's brilliant about the game is that even if you trigger, and this has happened to me, trigger the end game, you have a really strong hand, you could turn around, shuffle up your cards, and flop a really crappy hand and then lose the game. So it does not matter how well you have done throughout the game. It doesn't matter who reaches 31st. It's all about that final flip. So it makes for a very exciting ending to a very quick game. And that's essentially how you play Fliptoons. Now, if you want to play solo, you're actually going to remove the skunk from the game because that doesn't make any more sense, and you'll gain an extra caterpillar, and you're going to remove 20 cards from the deck here. So you're playing with a smaller deck of toon cards. At the end of every market phase, you're also going to remove the left and right cards. They're going to go away. So essentially, cards are going to come out of the deck faster. You have to get to 30 points before the deck runs out. And it is possible. I've done it, but it also is very tight. It is a quick game. It's a tight window that you have to get to. You have to optimize your hand quickly, but it's a great way to get used to the game, to see the cards, and it plays really fast. So I'm going to give you my opinions on the game here in just a second. But that is how you play Fliptoons. Now let's talk about my thoughts on the game. First off, I want to talk about components, and this really is just cards and an instruction manual. That's the only thing there. That makes for a very cheap game, not cheaply produced, but it's inexpensive. Comes in a small box, very portable, and it plays very fast. But the components, the card quality is very nice. The artwork is great, really fun artwork. Some of them are kind of the noodle arm style artwork, but it doesn't have that kind of old timey antique-y feel to it that some of the like townsfolk tussle has to it. And it's also very clean. There's no reason you couldn't play this with your kids. And the variety in animals is quite extensive. You can see here that there's just all sorts of animals. They all behave differently. Generally, the ones that have a higher rank are going to do more for you, but there's various strategies you can get into. You want to play a flip strategy where you're trying to flip over cards and then have the bull go off for big. Are you going to want to get out things like the monkey, who's going to go up and allow you to play even more cards? Or the rabbits can stack on top of each other or stack on top of a blank card. Camels, if you have the most camels, they're going to score more points. Tons of variety in the cards here. Again, the card quality is really good. And I have no qualms with the components. There is one little mini expansion that they've already come out with the game, and that's the Big Button mini expansion here. It comes with these cards. To utilize this expansion, everybody's going to get a reset button. And if they don't like their flip of 6 cards, they can take their reset button, flip it over, shuffle up their cards, and deal out 6 new cards. That's pretty much it. It's a one-time use thing unless an axolotl comes out. So these two add to the lineup of cards. If you hire this guy, when you hire him, you can flip over your reset button. So you'd want to make sure you hired him after you used the reset button. He's also worth 7 fame. So he's definitely worth it. He's the highest card in the game, though, so he's usually going to be up there in that 15 spot. You're going to have to pay for him. But there you go. That's the component quality of the game. So I mentioned this in the intro. I think this game is fantastic, so I'm not going to hide that I'm going to give this a good review. So I actually want to cover the really only 2 negative things I have to say about the game. And again, these are getting really nitpicky. One is that there is the opportunity for someone to get lucky and kind of run away with the game. This happened at one point. I was playing a 3-player game, and the individual that ended up winning had some good cards come out right when he was about to enter his market phase. Basically, somebody purchased some cards, it opened up some spots, and good cards came out. And then he also got really lucky with flipping his cards over. He actually was purchasing several alligators, which normally eat whatever comes after it, but he kept putting the alligators on the ends. Luckily enough, that's just where they ended up. He started accruing a lot of points. He was able to purchase a lot of really good cards. And at the end, he eclipsed that 30-point mark, and then the next flip, the other gentleman and I who were playing against him, no matter how well we could have built out our deck, even after that final market phase, the best I could have done was 26 points. And I think it was something similar for the other person. So we weren't even remotely close to him when he eclipsed 30 and then did another round of over 30. So there is the opportunity for someone to get lucky and to kind of run away with the game. But with that being said, the game plays in roughly 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes if you're learning. If you're familiar with the game, you can knock this game out in 20 minutes. I've already played several games, and if you're playing solo, it plays even faster. So if that happens, just shuffle up the deck and play another one. It's really not a big deal. This is not a game to be taken uber seriously. The other thing that I didn't really like about the game is that if you're playing solo or two-player, you're always going to remove that left and rightmost card. But they have you refill the deck first, which means you're reordering them, and you're putting the lowest card on the left and the highest card on the right, and then they tell you to take them away. To me, this felt odd. I don't know why they chose that order of things. But it always meant that sometimes cards came out and you saw them for a second and then they went away. A card like an ostrich, if it comes out after the market phase and before the culling phase, it's definitely gone. Or something like, the deer here that's 23, probably is going to be on the end of the row and is going to get cut before you even have a chance to purchase it. Again, that's a very minor qualm, and this rule only comes into effect if you're playing solo and two-player. It's a way for you to see more cards in the deck. I just don't understand why it wasn't cull the left and right card after you have made your purchases, and then you refill the deck. That way you have at least one round, one opportunity to purchase a card if it's one that would really work in your deck. But again, this is a 20-minute game. If you don't like the cards that came out, you just shuffle up and you play again. So, those two negatives out of the way, what are my positives of the game? I've already mentioned them here as kind of counter arguments to the negatives I found, but this game plays very fast. The artwork is great. The component quality is great. There is a decent amount of strategy here in choosing the cards that you choose. So you're not always necessarily going to be fighting with people over the same card. One card that works for someone else may not work for the strategy you're going for. There's also different strategies. There's only but so many cards here, but I've already taken on kind of the push your luck strategy. I've tried to take on the flip strategy where I'm making the bull and the eagle and the elephant all work together. I've seen people take on the rabbit strategy or the camel strategy and make those work. So you can play this game multiple times in a row and not necessarily go for the same cards every time. And that works really well, again, for a game that plays in 20 to 30 minutes. Because you could very easily sit down and play 2 to 3 games back to back to back and not get tired of the game. So I'm highly recommending this one, really, for anybody. I love deck builders, and so I targeted this one right away as a game that I wanted to try. It had that deck building mechanic, played fast, small box, very portable. I wanted to check it out, and I have not been disappointed. It has a twist on the deck building mechanic in the fact that you are trying to optimize your deck, keep it slim, keep that 6 to 8 card ratio the whole time. But also the whole laying out in the grid and how the cards come out, which is different every single time because you're shuffling them up and you cannot control that. But you're trying to optimize your deck in a way that the randomness is a little controlled when you put it out in that 3x3 or 3x2 grid of 6 cards. So I'm really going to recommend this one for everybody. I was pleasantly surprised with this game. This one's definitely going to stay in my collection. And I'm going to sleeve it up and I'm going to take this with me. This is a great just kind of filler game, starter game. I played it with my kids. It took them a few minutes to understand what all of the things did, flipping and why flipping matters and this and that. putting them into a grid. But once they kind of saw some cards and saw some turns taken, they picked right up on it. And my kids are 9 and 11. It says 10 plus on the box. I think that if you have a child who is used to gaming, 8 or 9 easily could pick this up and take it with them. But it's light enough that you could teach it to someone who's not a serious gamer, but there also is enough strategy that if you bring it out to a table of serious heavy gamers, they would enjoy it for the 20 to 30 minutes that it's going to take to knock out a game. So that's going to do it for my review of Fliptoons. Again, this was just released at Gen Con from Thunderworks Games. So the same company that brought us Role Player and Cartographers. This one's very different in their lineup. It definitely stands out in their lineup, but is definitely one I am recommending. I have had a blast playing this and can't give it enough praise. So if you have any questions about the game, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'm giving this game 2 thumbs up. Go out and find it once it starts hitting the store shelves, because this is going to be a hot one and one that I definitely recommend. So yeah, that's going to do it for my review of Fliptoons. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.